Welcome back. Welcome back. It's hard to do it without
your background music.
My background music.
The backing vocals. We need like 3 women on microphones in the
like
back.
the Supremes or something. That would be nice. Welcome back to our podcast, The Unicorn and the Frog. I'm the unicorn, Stacy Ryan.
I'm the frog.
Yeah.
Still Ryan.
Yes. So we are in a new studio, again in Palm Beach Gardens, like the last. But we have a new producer, Travis. Welcome, Travis, to our podcast. And I think this is episode 9 or 10. So we've got a few more with Pod Populi and hopefully continue with Pod Populi. Yeah, so here we are. We have a new topic today.
Big show.
You want to introduce our...
Yeah, I'll talk about it.
Yeah.
So obviously we talk about relationships, and I don't know what brought it up, but between you and me, we were having a conversation about how you select or pick your mate, pick another. And today we're going to focus on attraction versus compatibility.
And I have my notes.
Yes.
Everybody, not everybody, but people know I use...
Yeah, last episode you forgot your big notes.
Well, Natalie was there, and we talked about... and plus that was a different podcast because she was virtual, right? She was in the car, so that was... I was a little fumudgeoned from that episode. So now I have my notes. I'm back.
Thank goodness.
Yes.
It's such a relief. So we are, as you've heard, if you've been listening to our podcast, we are very fortunate as a couple that, we have a high compatibility based on many factors. We're friends. We love each other's company. We have similar interests. Communication is, I don't know if I can pick one or rank one as number one, but communication's a big deal. You're great at communication. Like I said, you're great at communication. And, we're all products of our experience. For me, well, both of us, this is our second marriage. And it's, I think, natural to think about what went right in your first relationship, what went wrong in your first relationship, and that influences the way we look at who we want to partner with next. And, I was speaking for myself. I was just out of college before I got engaged, and, I thought, that I knew what I was doing, but there were things that I didn't think about, and of course my mother in particular was trying to convince me I was too young, but
she might have been on to something.
She might have been. Yeah, she may have had.
What's that saying?
There.
Mothers know best sometimes.
Yeah. But I was 23 when I got engaged. I certainly didn't think I was a know-it-all, but I was pretty confident in my choices. Confident individual. But anyway.
Here we are.
So we're going to talk about focus on attraction versus compatibility. Attraction is still important. It's not unimportant. But we want to kind of offer, I think, some insights or thoughts on, I don't know if I want to say the best way, to pick your mate, but share our experiences and what we thought were important for us and hopefully important for others. So I have a list of about 10 different factors. I was saying to Stacy earlier, I think this is probably a multi-part conversation.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I think each of these 10 we could go deep on any one of them. So we'll see where it goes. Do you have any general thoughts that you want to share?
Well,
before?
I just prior to the list,
Yeah.
I think we were either watching a series or just talking about how lucky and fortunate we are that we have found not only an attraction but huge compatibility within our relationship. And I think we were just talking just how lucky, right? So how others struggle with that we know other people that might not be as compatible. And I think some of the shows that I watch, which we'll go into because I even have that on here, they talk about, how important it is to be compatible, not just attracted to the person. So it's interesting that that's our topic today, because one of the shows that I, of course, watch, they don't see the person at all, and they have to go deep. But we'll go into that. So you want to go through the first one, which is the emotional?
Sure.
Okay.
I think the first one is don't rush emotional commitment. That's an easy one, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think the younger we are, the more we're in a hurry to grow up, and so you may not think of the word rush, but replace the word in a hurry, or replace the word rush with in a hurry.
Mm-hmm.
I think that. I mean, we could talk about the timing of emotional commitment. We could talk about emotional commitment, right? That we are either equipped or not equipped to make commitments,
mm-hmm.
emotional or otherwise. But I think, that's it, on its face, none of us would say it's a good idea to rush into an emotional commitment. What I think gets buried in this first topic is, how do we get committed, or did we become committed without realizing we became committed?
Mm-hmm.
And is it an emotional commitment? Is it, I've seen with some relationships where they kind of get intertwined, they can feel stuck in the relationship, and maybe not identifying it as an emotional commitment, but it's still some level of commitment.
Mm-hmm. What do you think of emotional reliability versus emotional commitment? Is there a huge difference in that? Because I
think later, we talk about emotional intelligence, mm-hmm. and that's, I think it's talking about what keeps you in the relationship. And obviously a lot of factors there. But when I think of emotional commitment, I think of leaning in with somebody. That leaning in is important and it's fine. But, when we want to broaden the discussion about relationships and we want to contrast attraction from compatibility, compatibility forces us to ask more questions.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the questions is, am I leaning in? If so, why am I leaning in? And should I be leaning in?
Right.
So that's kind of what I think about.
So when I read a little bit about the notes there, which these were your notes, right? Okay. So easy to get swept up in attraction, but it's important to take time to truly get to know the other person. So one of the shows, which I just talked about a little bit briefly, they do not see each other. So it's a reality, whatever team.
You don't want to share the title?
Oh, sure. Love is Blind. So
because that kind of helps set the stage,
right? So it's which you've never seen. You've seen me watching it, maybe passed by, but never saw it. So they're in these pods, these individual pods. Nobody else can hear their conversations. They have to take notes on who they spoke to that hour. They all journal, and they have no clue what each of them look like. They're forced to connect emotionally first because there is no physical. They're not supposed to talk about height, race, financial status, anything physical attributes. And I love that because most of these individuals, at least they say, have heavily relied on that attraction, and that's why they are continuously in poor relationships. So they do lean in heavily on the compatibility factor and the emotional connection.
And we, I want to highlight again that we're not saying that attraction is not important. It's very important, and definitely it draws us to others.
Right.
And I think that the point in contrasting attraction from compatibility is don't let attraction be everything.
It shouldn't lead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it can lead, and chemistry / attraction, is critical. I've shared with you, when I was dating, I was in a relationship where I recognized that the chemistry wasn't there. I was checking the boxes of compatibility, and a lot of those boxes got checked, but there was a time and a part of me that thought, well, the attraction thing isn't as important. And of course, as we age, attraction takes a turn, if you will.
Yep. Different levels of attraction.
But I finally exited that relationship because I'm going to use the word chemistry more than attraction. And we can broaden the word attraction, too. It's more than just physical. You can be attracted to somebody's personality. You can be attracted to other things. We've talked about people that get attracted to another person's financial status. That's certainly not enough. So, yeah, let's move on to the next.
Okay.
One that we like. Have honest conversations early. A lot packed into there. The honesty thing, we'll stick a pin in that for now, but conversations and then early. Being, it's so easy, and a dear friend of mine says, we're all on our best behavior when we first start in a relationship and we start dating. We want to see past that. We want to see who somebody really is. And
go on vacation with them.
Yeah, having an honest conversation. And again, honesty that's a tough word that, we could spend a lot of time on honesty, but you have to be willing to say, sometimes you have to be willing to say the hard things and see how that person reacts. That might indicate the kind of person that you're with.
Yeah, I have that down where I put the values, goals, and expectations, because that was in your notes, younger versus older. Clearly they differ, as we get older.
Yeah.
And you enjoyed those heavier conversations that aren't always easy to have, especially when you're newly dating. We went to those conversations pretty early on, which I appreciated. We talked about divorce. We didn't bring, let's say we went to dinner. We didn't bring our marriages per se or difficult conversations on a date. We would talk about these like on the patio, have a glass of wine and just, sitting there and just having the dialogue. I don't think it was like a dating thing for us. At least I don't recall.
Well, and, I don't know if I've said it on this podcast or how many times I might have said it, but I label you the relationship whisperer. I knew right away that you had a capacity for honest conversations that I don't think I'd seen before. And so that made me, that was intriguing to me. I think there was a sense of feeling safe. Maybe I saw a level of vulnerability in you that I liked. I think, again, the word honest, I'll focus on that a minute. So I think as human beings, we struggle to be honest with ourselves, right? So in the context of, new relationships, you're trying to be on your best behavior, you may tolerate some behavior and not speak honestly about it in the beginning of a relationship, hoping either it goes away or it's just not going to bother you, whatever.
Right.
And are you honest with yourself about that? Are you, when you have a deep conversation, if there's a disagreement or some kind of conflict or a topic comes up in a conversation with a bigger group that raises a flag, are you willing to broach the tough subjects? And it's not about tough subjects. I mean, really, hopefully you pick somebody where there aren't a lot of tough subjects. The level of compatibility is such that you're compatible on so many levels that there aren't a lot of difficult conversations. But and maybe that's the corollary of this is if you've been in a relationship with somebody and you haven't had a tough conversation, or I don't want to say an honest conversation because hopefully you're always honest, but the tough conversation, that could be a red flag in itself.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, because then you can't even sit there and have that conversation or dialogue with, this new relationship. That's concerning. Absolutely.
So let's transition to the third point, assess how you handle conflict, conflict resolution, because it's a good segue to where we just were. And again, if there's a lot of conflict in the relationship, that should be a red flag, and that might be enough of a reason to exit the relationship. But I don't know. Can you think of an area of conflict that occurs in relationships and
maybe, differences of like religious beliefs? That could be politics. Yeah. Yeah.
Why am I laughing?
I don't know why you're laughing. We won't go into politics
we
today.
Avoid political conversations.
Yeah. Well, no, isn't that the norm, right? You don't bring up religion. You don't bring up politics. I think the biggest thing for me is with you, I feel safe regardless of the topic. So whether we agree to disagree on a subject matter, I feel so safe that I'm not concerned about tiptoeing around the conversation. So I think that's something that I did not want to compromise on, when I was looking for my new partner, which was you. I needed that comfort to have those conversations regardless of agreeing or not.
Let's segue again. Number 4, shared values over similar interests. When we were preparing for this, you talked about the importance of similar interests. Say more about that.
So I think you and I know that we connect on, food. We love going to great restaurants, whether it's, 5-star dining or a walk-up, window. We connect on that. We connect on great wine. We connect on travel. We connect on music. There's a lot that we do connect on. But I know other relationships that, let's say you were a big cyclist still, which you used to be for years. And if that was something that you were extremely passionate about, that you needed, somebody who had that same interest. And, I'm not a cyclist. I like to go bike riding for sure, but there's a difference, right?
Right.
So, sometimes people they don't want to give that up, that interest or that activity, just because they're, attracted to somebody. They need that compatibility because that's something that they do religiously, let's say, or working out. I think that matters, when you have that compatibility versus, I don't know the right word. What did I put down? Oh, the similar interest. Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to the fifth item is watch for red flags. I think we've been talking about that, so we'll probably come back to that. Number 6, foster friendship. Obviously, you could go a lot of different ways with this, right? So if I'm picking a mate, there would be some who would say fairly that, I have friends. I don't need another friend. I'm looking for something more. You and I would say friendship is very important. So is there a conflict there, or do you see friendship and the relationship with a significant other as compatible or the same?
Well, I can only go by, my parents. That was the first relationship that I was exposed to, and they were friends then, and they're still extremely, extremely good friends. So I valued that. I thought that was really important, and I wasn't just going to find a mate or a husband. I needed them to be my friend. I needed them to be my confidant. That was really important to me.
Yeah, and I think, again, going back to the context of how we're all on our best behavior in the beginning of a relationship, there needs to be, I don't know if you're settling back into some kind of normalcy. I haven't given that enough thought. I'm not sure how I would describe that, but it seems like for us, I would say, while we pursued a relationship, there was an easygoing manner that existed between us that I think I would label friendship. So that there was, I recognized that there was a friendship there. There was sort of an underlying connection that I wouldn't call it a baseline. I wouldn't call it a fallback. But there was
connection
and comfort that that felt different than other relationships that I had. And I think, I know, we're going on, did we just pass 5 years that we've known each other?
19.
Yeah. I think you and I would both say that we have a friendship.
Oh, yeah.
That underlies our relationship, if you will. But
what do you think of the sorry to interrupt you, what do you think of the sentence when people say we were better off as friends?
That if I were to hear that comment, I would think that they knew each other and then decided to pursue a relationship, and the relationship didn't work.
Yeah.
So that, to me, that demonstrates different levels. So if you're going to be in a relationship with somebody, and that somebody, let's just say they're your significant other, that in the context of the question you're asking, friendship holds a lower position in the relationship. When I think about our relationship, I don't think I think friendship is an attribute of our relationship, and that it isn't a level. Like, I don't think of it as levels. It's not measured.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
They're kind of intertwined.
Yeah, but I think, let's throw the word passion in there. Right? So if we were going to list ingredients that elevate friendship to relationship, and by relationship I mean a relationship with someone you designate as a significant other, I think a lot of people would say, well, the difference is passion. and so passion changes the nature of the relationship. Again, passion is important. I'm obviously struggling to articulate this a little bit, but again, in our relationship, I don't see a separation between, or again, levels of, like, if you were climbing stairs to that relationship, you don't leave friend and go to significant relationship. It's just part of our connection, or maybe a way to label our connection. So I think of it as an important ingredient in what we have.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I do want to tell you when something great happens or when something bad happens. You're my go-to. So and that's not always about the marriage. It's also the friendship level. I hate to use the word level again, but yeah.
No, I think the reason I think it's good that we're kind of struggling with the definition a little bit, because, again, we're trying to peel back the onion here a little bit and try to understand what's working for us in a way that we can share it with others and hopefully, help others.
It's not as defined, at least for me. It's not as defined, the where friendship is within our relationship and then the marital status is within the relationship. That's why I say they're intertwined, because there is none.
No, then you just added another word, marital.
Oh, great.
No, I mean, it's, I was focusing on relationship with a significant other. When you take it to the level of marriage, I'm going with level again. I think it is a different level. It's certainly a different level of commitment.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll come back to that.
Yeah.
Number 7, don't expect attraction to fix incompatibility. To me, that's an easy one. But and we could probably say more about that. People that have passion but don't have some of the other boxes checked on compatibility. We know a lot of relationships. There have been a lot of popular movies about relationships based on passion, not with no ability to have an honest conversation.
Right.
And so there's this constant fluctuation.
And those relationships, whether they're married or not, those tend to have a lot of awkward silences or not a lot of depth, right? Because it's mostly built on the passion or the physical attraction. So, yeah, it's never going to repair the incompatibility.
So let's move on to number 8. And again, this is no prescription. It's just how I kind of organize my notes. But emotional intelligence. So I will share, we will have a future episode on communication where I will share a mea culpa for me. Emotional intelligence. Well, first, why don't you define emotional intelligence?
Somebody capable of having intellectual conversations about their emotions, and then not only having conversations about them, but connecting emotionally. A lot of people are just stale, mostly men, I would say, maybe many women, but I would say percentage-wise it's probably more men that don't have that wherewithal. And it's probably just their upbringing. It probably was a generational thing. 50s, in the 50s, maybe, I don't know about 60s, but, there was a disconnection for men to be emotionally connected. So, trickle down years later.
Connect emotional intelligence to compatibility in contrast to attraction. So with attraction, emotional intelligence isn't even
in
an
the
issue.
equation, right.
Compatibility, when we talk about, again, having an honest conversation, shared values, handling conflict, then that emotional intelligence piece becomes really important. Without getting into the content from from the future episode, I'll just say that I considered myself on the high end of the scale of emotional intelligence, and in this particular interaction, which again we'll talk about in a future episode, but it challenged my perception of my emotional intelligence. And so I think tagging on to what you talked about is, that the patterns of experience that we have, our upbringing, maybe some training, maybe there's some other aspect that
therapy also.
Yeah, that might be blocking our ability to understand and manage our emotions effectively. So I think emotional intelligence is a key piece. I don't think, if I go back, if you asked me when was the first time that, was it emotional IQ, or I think that was one of the labels, or even emotional intelligence. I mean, I would say it's a concept that maybe I learned in the late 90s or early 2000s. For me, it was one of those ideas that resonated intuitively. I don't think I've really explored the nuances of what that means, and then how that comes into play in a relationship.
Sure.
But again, that in the last year, I've had to confront my emotional intelligence and maybe concede that I had some work to do when it came.
Well, we all do, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's, I do think that men struggle more, for sure, to connect that way.
Yeah, and I think, like one of the things that when we speak of compatibility versus attraction, again, attraction doesn't give us the skills that we need to manage a relationship.
Right, for sure.
And achieve that healthy relationship. And I think that's, while we may have not said it specifically, that's maybe the key piece of the conversation we're trying to have today, is that there's something, there's a fabric important in a relationship that has several dimensions or elements, and understanding,
or layers.
Yeah. Understanding the nuance of that fabric is key to having a successful and healthy relationship. And, again, I think more often than not, we find ourselves in a relationship. So there could be a lot of different timelines there, but there'll be a moment where we wake up and say, wow, okay, all of a sudden, I see I'm in the thick of this relationship. might be a point where you're thinking about making a bigger commitment. It might, like, maybe you and your partner are thinking about moving in together, which then may force you to confront certain aspects of this relationship fabric that I'm referencing. And I think what we're hoping to do, again, I think this is a multi-part topic, is start to unmask, if you will, those layers. So that it becomes a tool or even a map. As you,
I think once they're identified, and they're going to be different for each person in each relationship, right? What the layers that make our relationship work will differ from somebody else, but I do think it's maybe a guide, let's say. But yeah, you have to figure out what those layers are.
Okay, number 9, focus on growth and adaptability.
That's a big one.
Yeah, and compatibility isn't static. That's kind of the key, is that I can speak for myself and for our relationship. It's definitely not static. I definitely keep trying to improve myself, which then will improve us. But I think when you're younger, growth can be dynamite in a relationship, right? Where one person, whether it's because of their career or something else, is experiencing incredible growth, and another person might not be, might not even be choosing to continue to grow. So, growth can present its challenges. Adaptability, to me, that's just about life, right? Life has a way of throwing us some curves, and
how you
yeah,
adjust to those, absolutely.
Yeah. And, adaptability, our partner can help us grow and be adaptable, right? If we're in a relationship where we feel safe, where we have honest conversations, where conflict is managed effectively, where both parties have a high emotional IQ, then those challenges that come our way, that we face in life, because that's what life does, we could find that we're really lucky to be in a relationship with someone that can help us carry that weight.
Well, and I think also if you're in a relationship with somebody who is not willing to evolve, that's a problem, because I just think time, of course, is going to change the dynamic of your personality and your life, right? So that means your relationship is going to change because of that. And if somebody is just very stuck or doesn't want to evolve or doesn't want to embrace change, that can definitely hurt the relationship. Because if one is constantly learning, growing, evolving, changing, moving, and the other is just there, staying in the same position, I would say that's maybe, our age or more, older. I wouldn't say it's younger, because I don't think that they're just constantly moving, going. But yeah, that could be challenging.
All right, we'll throw in the last, number 10. Look for long-term qualities, not just immediate gratification. And I made a note here. You must play the long game if you're in it for the long haul, right? And
yeah, that's good.
And again, long-term qualities. You may see certain qualities in your partner that you may not see down the road. Again, we've talked about in the beginning of a relationship, everybody's on their best behavior. But you know, we've talked about more challenges that can occur as a surprise in a relationship. You know, again, things change, life changes, life throws you curves, and you know, if you meet somebody who's in a good place in their life and maybe life's has come easy to them, and then when they face a challenge in a way they haven't experienced before, that individual is being tested, and you know, will that individual manage that test effectively? But then what is the potential fallout that the relationship experiences?
Yeah, because if the other individual didn't have that lifestyle, and then they're seeing this person go through a conflict and really mismanage it, and they're like, okay, that's who they are when conflict arises. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So, yeah, look, everybody, not everybody, but people could be attracted to people, right? It happens all the time. Yeah. Compatibility versus the attraction. That's, again, great topic. We could go into the honesty thing for 2 hours. We could go into the evolution of a relationship for hours. I mean, that's just, we could just go on and on.
Did we miss anything on your notes?
No, because remember, I only went through the 1 through 5. I read all of those, but I mean, I could have used the back of the paper. But I didn't. You know me, I like to conserve. I definitely would not use 2. I would use, you know, the back. So yeah, we need to get back into this compatibility versus attraction, or vice versa.
Take us out.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us. We really appreciate your time. And join us next time on The Unicorn and the Frog. I'm Stacy Ryan.
I'm Bill Ryan.
Bye.